the Nick Slavic Painting and Restoration Company. I'm also the host of this show, Ask a Painter Live. It's a weekly live Facebook show where I use my over 2 decades of experience as a craftsman and an entrepreneur to answer your questions. And we connected with Chris Shank, one of my best friends in the entire industry here, the education guy at the PCA, and wearing one of the most beautiful shirts I've ever seen.
That's right. Anybody recognize this guy? Can you see it okay in this lighting, this
Yeah,
horrible lighting?
I love that. And you're very lucky to get one of the pink ones. The pink ones have been the most popular versions of that shirt. So
I love it. I love it. The pink and the purple, and I got my purple Versa Fitbit band that my daughter didn't want, so Dad's wearing it now, and I'm loving it. So
dude,
matches.
I love it, man. So, okay, we're doing a little safety thing here. I have, if you can see, V Live is acting crazy today. So I'm going hard recording too. So, in case this breaks up, it goes away, I have a hard recording I will post after. But, Chris, I am doing what the PCA is doing right now, the Paint Contractors Association of America, which has greatly helped me in my business. This is the time, if you've ever wondered what the value of being a member of the PCA is, right now you are receiving that full sort of indication of what that is because you guys have completely pivoted from all the normal education topics to
Yeah, to Operation COVID Response. And it's an 8-week conference. It's an online conference. And we have Think Tank Tuesdays with panelists in residential and commercial segments of the industry. And then we have brain melds on Thursday brain melds. And we have residential commercial brain melds. And really, it's all about getting people's experiences, having people share what they're learning and how they're changing and adapting and what lessons are they taking away. And it's all about bringing those takeaways to other people and letting them share, so the audience jumps in and shares. And that's what it's all about. So this week was about changing course, and that was last week was tough management decisions. This week's
mm,
course. And interestingly enough, I don't think a lot of people are well. It's interesting. Residential might be facing something a little bit different than commercial businesses, but I know last night in the commercial, and even a lot in the residential, there's a lot of people who are sticking with it and holding court and not really changing a whole lot right now. And I think that was a big surprise for me, that people are like just grinning and bearing it and pushing through and finding some success doing that. So it's interesting.
yeah, and it seems to me that when obviously I get a lot of direct messages, emails, calls, texts from painters all across the country normally, and it's been even more now because people need immediate context and perspective to make very hard decisions right now. And it seems like the smaller, more agile companies, the 1 to 2 person companies, seem to be having a easier time with this because it's just easier to find enough jobs to keep one person busy. Or if it's one person, you can either work or not work. And if you own the company, you can kind of be flexible that way. It's when you have a larger sort of company with a lot of employees that all of a sudden you start wading into some legal and some sort of employment issues too. So what do you think is the average state of mind for the business owner right now? Are people hopeful? Are they uncertain? Are they worried? What do you think?
Well, it's been interesting. There's been a cautious optimism that has driven people, and just kind of, I think there was a little bit of fear at first, of course, and then it was feeling like you're getting a grasp, and then there'd be another change, with the Paycheck Protection Program. I know everybody was really happy to hear that that was going to be happening, and then it was learning about the details. Then you learn the details, and then you start submitting, and then you find out there's a little bit of a crisis, and there has to be more federal funding poured into the program, and then that runs out, and then now people are like, not only are they thinking, what if I didn't get it in, and most people did get it in that I've heard about, but the people who are late applications have to worry about if they're going to be getting it, because what if we've run out now, because the way Morgan Ray from Bookkeeping for Painters was explaining it, that there's a certain amount of money that's available, and once all applications are in, it's called for, and then they announce if it's still available or not, based on the number of applications that have come through. So it's interesting. It's one thing or another. Once people feel like they get their bearings, then all of a sudden something else is pulled out from underneath them, and I think that's what we're getting. But for the most part, I feel like people still have a good sense of what they're supposed to be doing in their company so far. And this is just a superficial sense that I have based upon my anecdotal experiences with people and hearing people call in and stuff. And maybe that's the entrepreneurial optimism because you guys, you started from the ground up. You know, a lot of you guys did. And you've pulled yourself up by bootstraps, and the rugged individualist thing is kind of kicking in. So I don't know if the people are like, we're going to make it no matter what. And that's beautiful. That's awesome.
Yeah.
But it does look like people are managing in interesting ways. And I know the first time I started talking with you, Nick, that's kind of what I was getting from you is like, we're going to get through this. This is how we're going to get through it. And this is what I'm telling my company. You seem to have like, you pulled out of the files, you know, some plan that you had ready for Operation COVID response for COVID-19. And I was really kind of surprised. I'm like, I wonder if everybody else will be adapting. And you're a unique person. Maybe you're going to do somewhat uniquely the Slavikian way, but a lot of was that.
You're unique too, Chris Shank.
Thanks. But I think that a lot of people are showing some ingenuity during this time, and there are some layoffs that have happened, and some furloughs here and there, and you know people are. Matter of fact, one of the questions we're asking right now is where everybody is at in the hiring uh, season. You know, what would have normally been the hiring season, or kind of, you know, hopefully people would have been planning that before now, but now activating some of those plans. So my big thing is that changing for you? For some people, the layoffs have occurred, and there's going to be start to be some hire backs. And I'm curious where you're at with all that. Have you kept all your employees, Nick?
Yeah, so this is interesting. State of Nick Slavic Painting and Restoration Company is leadership team is in place. I am in place, and about 35% of our workforce is full-time employment. Nothing changes. About 65% opted to self-quarantine, and whether it's for health reasons, whether it's for family reasons, whether it's childcare reasons, whatever. I give every week. I put out a statement to the company saying we have two options: you either return to work full-time, or you decide to self-quarantine. And that's an election that you make. And every week, everybody has to acknowledge that in my company so we can staff it, because it takes time to ramp up jobs if everybody comes back. So we have seen about 15% of my workforce, 10 to 15% of my workforce come back every week, except this week when COVID checks dropped. 0% additional of my workforce came back this week. So I mean, it's economics. It's the law of supply and demand, and if you get a paycheck for not working, you will stay home for another week, and I completely understand that. I don't hold it against anybody. It's one of those things. If somebody gave me a check for what I made in a month painting, revenue wise, I mean, I would not do it. I would add that on top of the other one, but it still would be tempting to be like, well, maybe I can take a Friday off here or there, So
How are you dealing with that? And what is your message to your employees while that is happening to make sure people stay engaged or see the importance of staying engaged when they have an option not to be so engaged? Because I think probably a lot of companies will be dealing with that same thing. Do you change your messaging for that kind of a atmosphere?
Yes. So we are uniquely positioned in a time like this. And this is super unsatisfying and non-sexy, but we are perfectly prepared for a situation like this because for the last 3 years, we've been heavy on knowing our numbers, heavy on basic operating procedures, standard operating procedures, and showing people what the standard of employment is. And also with our core values over the years, we always preach our first core value is trust. And that's, you have to trust me, I have to trust you. And this is overall a family environment. So that continues into a time like this. And I appreciate my people so much. And especially in a time like this, when we have to go through this weird time, I've explicitly told them, I am so glad I get to do this with you guys, because if I had a bunch of people I did not trust, I did not like hanging around with, that I didn't think could do this very well, this would be a miserable time. So this family environment, this trust, this flexibility, we do that all year round. If somebody has a spouse issue, a childcare issue, in my company, you can take off whenever you want, however you want for as long as you want. And that extends right now, but we can't just do this unintentionally. So I make people do that light switch choice. It's either on or it's off. You're either full-time employment or you decide to stay home on your own volition. And yeah, the statement to the company is always number one. If you don't feel safe, this conversation ends right now. You do what you have to do for yourself and your family. After that, you tell me what you need of me, because I think my biggest role as the leader of this company right now is to provide an option. I could have shut down my company and said, you know what, your only option is unemployment now. But I think there's value in me saying, you know what, this is clunky, it's weird. We have to take cues from the clients and the economy and social distancing and decent human beingness. But if you want to work, at least you have that option. And I think that's the biggest value I can provide right now.
That is a lot of value. Actually, there are some studies in wealth and what really constitutes true wealth. Is it, disposable income, assets, opportunities? And they found out that options some of the best definitions of wealth, that if you can choose this or that, it shows that you have true wealth in freedom. That has to do, it's a lot.
Freedom is the word I was hoping you were going to say, because options are freedom. And this thing, I tell my company every week, this is a freedom machine. It's a freedom machine for me, my family, all the employees, the people around it. If you meet my standards and my core values, you will be allotted a considerable more freedom than anybody else you know in the similar situation.
Yeah. So honestly, if people don't understand what freedom is worth, I mean, obviously it's a big American word, right? But I mean, truly to understand how that is wealth, and that freedom is having options, and freedom is choice. And you don't get that everywhere with every company. I mean, you are trying to build something, again, unique. And I mean, it is very unique, even in our industry, our trade. And with a lot of the companies still in PCA, not everybody does it the way you do it. So that is extremely beneficial for people. Hopefully they know what they got. And then I was going to ask you, how the discipline equals freedom, because you use discipline equals freedom a lot. So there was.
Yeah. So, and it's interesting because, again, we are uniquely positioned in a time like this. If you recall, January 1st, the first Ask a Painter of 2020, I announced this is the year of mastering the basics, discipline equals freedom, which is, you know what? We're doing crazy apps. We're doing crazy algorithms on G Sheets. We're virtual estimates. We're pushing the boundaries of what's possible with coding science and technology. But successful companies do a few things, simple things, very, very well. So we did this in my company. We did this with Ask a Painter, which is go back to the basics and just be disciplined enough to do these unsexy, sort of boring things insanely well. And it set us up perfectly for this. I mean, we are making the best of a certain circumstance. And I believe right now that because of my leadership team, because of the awesome apprentices and craftspeople I have, and because of our focus on the basics, we have basically maximized our position on this planet within this company to the farthest extent we can. And we're only limited by externalities right now, which is, do clients want us in their house? Because right now clients are beating down my door with estimates. They're accepting estimates, but they're saying after COVID. So it's one of those things where we can't change that. I would not push a client, because I would not push one of my apprentices. I say, you know what, if you got a genuine health concern, there's no benefit in me for pushing this forward. We'll do this when it's ready. We're also limited by the government. So far, we're an essential service in Minnesota, so we're fine. We're not limited by that. It's just the externalities of, will clients let us in their house? Will my employees feel safe enough to come back to work? And honestly, we've done everything we can.
Yeah. Well, I think you guys are interesting. Like, you're on course and you're doing okay. I'm glad to hear that. Glad to hear you got a plan. And of course, Nick Slavic has a plan. Of course.
But Chris, in the theme of, I'm now looking back on 4 years of Ask a Painter and all the DMs and all the interactions I have with painters. Everything circles back to these unsexy, unsatisfying answers of doing basic things really well all the time, forever, never stopping, always be consistent. That will put you way farther ahead than taking 1 week off, reinventing your whole business and then sitting back in your chair after that again. So this is not I would never be smart enough. I know I'm not smart enough to make a global pandemic emergency plan for my business, file it away, and then be like, oh man, look at this. We got a global pandemic. I'm going to pull this sheet of paper out and we're just going to follow these instructions. I will never be that smart. So what I do is I say, we're not gonna control for everything, but 90% of all the bad, ugly things that can happen to me and my business, we can master by doing the basics, being a profitable company, treating other human beings the way that you want to be treated. It's so unsatisfying to hear that, but it is the truth and it will be better.
I've heard a lot about the book, The E Myth, and I have not read it. I've read parts of it, but it sounds like everything I hear is exactly what you're talking about. That this is the real secret about it is some of the basics, but you got to know them really well, and you got to know them in your blood, and you've got it in your blood for sure. Like some people really have to come to the realizations or come to the revelation that seems to come so natural to you. But then again, you've changed a lot over the years too, and you've come to some good ideas and some big work smarter, not harder, and those things. So you've got a good blend over there that seems to be carrying you through pretty well.
So, question for you. It seems like, okay, when people look back on this episode and they may want to retrospect on the COVID economy, right now, I feel that we're what, maybe 4 weeks into it, give or take. I mean, formally, you know? So, where we stand right now, we all are, I feel this week we turned a corner and we're all starting to kind of understand there's more known than unknown, I feel. I think we've crossed a hump, at least business wise, into knowing like, am I going to be forced to be shut down? Am I not? What are my people going to do? We now have a couple of weeks of that data. I feel right now we are in a place where the PPP stuff and the small business EIDL loans have all basically been applied for. There's probably 1,000 times more applicants than there is money. Some people are starting to get it trickle through. I feel like not many people have actually put the majority of that money to the ground yet. It's too new. And I think that's the last big unknown, which is there's this money that the government gives you and we're all nervous about it. There's restrictions. And if you print off the bill from the Congress, it's 500 pages long. And you're just like, I hope this works.
Right. I know it works. Yeah. That seems to be where a lot of people are. And maybe you're right that there are some things that seem to be known. I still sense a lot of uncertainty, but it's interesting. It's like, it's still with the people that I'm hearing from, and it may be the leaders that are stepping up to speak. That's what I don't really know. How much underlying fear? Can you still hear me?
Yep, I'm just making sure my camera's rolling here.
Okay. I don't know how much underlying fear is out there that of people that aren't expressing it, and then we're hearing the people who are a little bit more brave, a little bit more better situated speaking right now. But it just seems like people are, when they get a handle on it, then there's some loose piece and they just tighten up that piece or get a better handle on. But mostly it's like people are containing it and saying, I think we can still work with this mess. And
Mm-hmm.
and we can still move forward, just, in the darkness, groping forward in the darkness still. And people seem to be really good at it. So far, I don't want to say so far so good because that could sound very demeaning for people who are really struggling. But
Yeah.
a lot of people are managing in very surprising and creative ways. So we could at least say that.
Well, and it's interesting. I create a direct parallel between what goes on in civilian life and then professional life, because all you hear in normal life is, oh my God, if I just had 2 or 3 weeks off, I catch up on all my Netflix, I read a book, I write a book, I do all those things I've wanted to do. And okay, here you are. What have you done? And the same thing goes for business, which is if I only had time to redo my website, to redo my marketing.
I'm always, I'm always, you know what I did? You're like, I'm sorry, I don't want to interrupt because you're going to good places. But when you're saying that, one of the things I want to catch up on is book notes, because that's what Chris Shank does. I take all my little notes that I underline and I type them into my files, and then I go off and write a little report, and then I go to my next book, and then I take.
Well, listen, you're a horrible example because you write poetry and you read books at a clip 100 times greater than any other human I know. So in a downtime like this, I would imagine you're doing the same, but just spending more time with family and friends and significant others and things. So
Of course. But I did interrupt you. You were going to good places. You're saying, I'll look at
No,
my website. That's what I do imagine some business will be doing some of those things.
so I had a fairly long conversation with a person that I consider a peer and a mentor and somebody that I look up to greatly yesterday on the phone. And this is a theme from this person that I've seen them iterate in the best of times when the economy's rolling, when there's everything is working great, triple in business every year, and times like this where it's very tough and you have to change everything you do, which is there's always opportunities. You just have to be smart enough and diligent enough to know where to find them and spend enough time looking for them. And right now, there are as many opportunities as a business owner as there were 2 months ago when the economy was just going crazy. So it's one of those things too. Will you look back at this time and as a business owner, will you say, nothing's changed in my business? I still have a clunky estimate platform. I still got a crappy website. I haven't got production rates. I haven't started virtual, SOPs, processes, procedures. If at the end of this, you don't have all that done, I think you've wasted this time completely because I don't think we'll ever have another time like this again where we're forced to pause. So
That's a really good point. That's a really good encouragement for people to take advantage of the opportunity. That opportunity is neat because it's part of the game, right, of life, the sport business. And here's a quote. I'm gonna drop a quote on you. You like that sometimes. One of my favorite authors said that sometimes life seems to be a good-natured sparring with nature for the privilege of being. Maybe it was good-hearted sparring with nature for the privilege of being. And if you look at it like that, first of all, being kind of essentially good in its orientation, like feeling like it means well, life means well. And sometimes we're battling nature and we're battling the forces that seem to be out there, the elements. But it's a privilege, and even that fight itself, the game, the sport, is a privilege that we're looking for the opportunities, we're looking for the wins, and we're finding enough of them to satisfy us. I mean, I think with a lot of people who are still in business, they've had some tough fights over the years, but every time you come through it, like something like COVID, you feel stronger, you feel better, you feel smarter, you feel more accomplished. And that's the beauty, I think, of being able to see opportunities is your sight. You have sight to see opportunities, not just that you find an easy way out. You may have to find the hard way out, but you found a way out, and that's you. That's your eyeballs that are seeing those things that are specially specially tuned to be able to do that. And most people can't in the same way, and that's amazing to me. So I think you're right about looking for those opportunities.
yeah, and you know what? I will tell you right now. One of there's like you said, there's hard things, there's easy things. The easy things you don't normally remember, or you just solve them and move on and never think of them. But the hard thing, shifts in the marketplace, like huge shifts in the marketplace. What we're going to see now is the general business world is, with the advent of all these Zoom meetings and stuff, I think there's going to be a huge shift in people working from home, a lot more sort of remote stuff. And if you think this isn't going to affect the contracting world, you are lying to yourself because you and I have been talking about for 3 or 4 years about the Amazon effect of you can hit one button, one click buy, and then a day later, something shows up at your house and it's weird. 5 years ago, nobody trusted it. Now you would only trust Amazon compared to a lot of other online retailers because there's recourse. It always works. So if you think that people for painting their bedroom don't want to do a one click and get something from a contractor, you are lying to yourself. So again, uniquely positioned. I've been doing virtual estimates. I do a few hundred a year for 3 years now. And this is the time, man. Like if you're not doing virtual estimates now where you have some sort of online platform for people to get a hold of you, quickly get information, you quickly respond, get images, get videos, set up a Zoom meeting with them, and get them an estimate within hours or a day. I have a feeling their contractors are starting to tiptoe into this. I think this is going to be the new norm now. So,
what are you using? Is it something that you've built, custom made, or is?
Prepare for an unsatisfying answer, Chris Shank. So,
No, yeah.
Dude, simplicity is beautiful. I have a website. I direct everybody to the website. It's all standardized. I've removed my phone number from everything because I want people to go to the website. They click on one red button. It asks them for a few bit of information that I would ask them for on the phone anyway, except I make spelling errors and phone number errors and my website does not, it immediately emails me. I immediately email them back and say, hey, you want your kitchen cabinets painted? I can do a virtual estimate for you. I give them two options right now. Virtual estimate, I can get it to you in hours or a day, 24 hours, give or take, fully detailed estimate. Or we can set up an on-site estimate respecting all the social distancing thing. And especially with social distancing, now people are like, absolutely, how do I do a virtual estimate? And unsatisfying part, send me pictures. And they send me pictures and I create an estimate. And out of the next thing people ask then is, well, hey, how can you possibly estimate something from pictures? In 325 virtual estimates and projects that we've done over the last 2 years, 2 projects I misestimated.
Wow. Wow.
So, but again, if somebody's taking a picture of a kitchen and you can see the 3 walls that have the cabinets on it, when's the last time you were surprised by a missing 40 cabinet doors? You know what I mean? Like if you just think about it, you're looking at the kitchen. If you've done 5 kitchens, look back at how much you charge and how long it take you, extrapolate that to the new one. And honestly, kitchens are some of the easiest things. Whole house trim projects are still tough because clients don't understand what you want a lot of the times because you need door window count. But honestly, exteriors of houses, kitchens, and simple wall repaints, those are so easy, man. And you know what? I used to think, and when we first met, I was all about, you need to be in person. I'm not even giving you information on the phone. I'm driving to your house. You need to speak to me because that's what Nick Slavic does. I'm a man-to-man sort of guy. Now I realize that there's huge value in that, the promptness of that. But also, people don't want to wait a week and a half for an estimate. They see just as much value in getting something in 24 hours as they do face-to-face a week and a half from now. And that's what I felt. There's that value curve, and they cross right at about that 24-hour instant estimate, week and a half on-site estimate, like that.
Wow. Wow, that's really interesting. That's a good way to phrase that.
Yeah.
That's cool.
But again, it's simple. You're already doing this. All you have to do is do more of it. And this is going to be the new norm. And I was waiting for something to change in the industry where this became the norm. And then setting up an in-person appointment a week and a half from now was all of a sudden the thing consumers did not trust. And I think this is going to push it to the point now. So,
yeah, very good. Yeah, sounds like you're doing some things, man.
Well, and it's fun, and so are you guys. And the coolest thing that I heard, people ask me, I probably get 2 or 3 times a day, people saying, should I join the PCA? And if so, why? And I will say, lucky for you, we have a global pandemic. And I say exactly what you guys say. You're not alone. You're not alone. And that's exactly what the messaging, I heard Nigel say it 10 times on the podcast with you. You guys say it all the time. If you think you're alone, you are not alone. You have the finest craftspeople and entrepreneurs in the world. You're the clearinghouse for them.
Yeah, it's interesting. Let me clarify something. Operation COVID Response is now free and accessible to everyone because Benjamin Moore stepped up and sponsored it. And there's a code you can put in. You can find it on the page, BM Supports. And so anybody can make it. But here's the thing. We are really making sure that people know that there's membership value as we continue forward. We're creating more products for the rest of 2020. People can get in and see all of our videos. They can get connected to other contractors. Yes, this is a great time for membership in a lot of ways. But a lot of people are getting to know PCA through Operation COVID Response, and we're really happy about that. And we're really happy to provide an opportunity where we just gather more and more people together beyond merely our membership base. And now we only put PCA members up in front of people because we want our thought leaders to be known for, the PCA brand. But anybody is welcome, and we're excited to share the message far and wide.
Yeah, you guys are absolutely being inclusive and not exclusive with this because you guys are here to serve the industry. And yes, you guys are doing exactly that. And you do this in normal times, but now when people are a little bit scared, a little bit uncertain, you guys are like the calm, gentle hand, the firm, strong hand that you can just hold on to and say, you know what? If the experts in the entire world are thinking about this or they don't know something about this, feel safe. Because you know what? If they don't know, you don't know either. We're all learning together.
I love that. I hope we live up to that, Nick. I really do.
Well, and you guys are. So, is there any other in the last couple of weeks of doing the COVID response? Has there been any really outsider outlier sort of things going on? Is there anything that surprised you? Is there anything that disappointed you about the way that contractors are acting right now? What is a takeaway that you got?
Well, I think that everybody's showing a lot of resourcefulness. There's been a certain amount of unwillingness to act rationally. People are thinking through things, making sure they're doing the right thing with their employees. A lot of talk about taking care of teams, being safe. I loved hearing all of that. It wasn't just about how's my business going to make more money or make enough money during this time. I mean, there's concerns for sure, but it's about I'm seeing good leadership. Again, the people in PCA who step up are top tier contractors, and so a lot of them are sharing some really good ideas about what makes for a successful company and a successful owner. And a lot of that is building great teams. And now people are prizing their teams. So it must feel good as an employee of people like you who own the company. It must feel good to be an employee to say, like, I am prized by my employer. And so they're taken care of. And that's been I think that's been really rewarding. Also, I want to mention Morgan Ray of Bookkeeping for Pain has been amazing, a huge resource. I know they are being bombarded right now with a lot of questions and people who are just wanting more information, but they're providing us with something called the Skim, which is every beginning of every week. I think it goes out Monday morning. Our e-news, yeah, and it's going to be just a lot of financial updates. She's been almost on I think she has been on every one of our think tanks and brain melds, at least as a voice to talk through things. So people are going to them. I know other people are bringing out good resources. Breakthrough Academy has a playbook, has lots of webinars. They offer really unique perspectives. And so it's some of the people who are stepping up and helping and telling me, Chris, put me somewhere, tell me how to help. And so I was able to fill up the panelist schedule for all of the sessions in our conference. Like, I mean, I'm still filling out some of them, but a lot of them I just had to put them in spots because so many leaders stepped up to help. So that's been amazing to see the optimism and the camaraderie that has been there all along, but this kind of putting that into action has been neat.
Agreed. And if you haven't personally talked to Morgan, savant level understanding of the financial side of what we're doing. And I got a chance to meet her at the PCA Expo, which is another huge benefit of all this. And I appreciate that gathering of 500 people even more now that we can't do it. But I got to speak to her personally. Amazing thought leader, and do not miss that.
Yep, she will be on every one of our conference sessions, think tanks, and brain melds during Operation COVID Response. So, yep, those have been some really neat things. I think team care, people realize now more than ever. And again, maybe the top tier business owners, and maybe it's PCA business owners. It's somehow the top slice of the industry. No, you've got to value and prize your people, and that build great teams, and that's how you have winning successes as a company. And nobody, I don't think I've observed a whole lot of businesses who are forgetting that message or communicate that to their team.
Which is interesting because, again, in the long line of unsatisfying realizations as a business owner, we all say that, man, it's all about the people, it's all about the employees. Well, now it's sort of proven. If you think that was just a platitude before or lip service, congratulations, you have discovered that is one of the truest things on the planet in the last 4 weeks. So, Chris Shank, you're the best. We put in a lot of time this morning. Thank you for all this, and thank you for everything that the PCA does, especially at a time like this.
We are welcome. I mean, you are welcome. We are happy to provide these things. And I know Nigel Costello is our new executive director. He's been doing an amazing job. And that you are not alone comes directly from him and the board of directors. And so, yeah, I'm happy to see the direction we're going and happy to be a part of it. So thanks for including me today, Nick.
Dude, absolutely, man. Take care and say hi to everybody for me.
Will do. Bye.